Thank you, guys. My name is Lindsay. I'm one of the recruiting coaches here in women's soccer. I am going to be teaching your class today. So for those of you that are watching live, I will answer questions at the end. So hold tight, write them down. We'll be talking at the end here and answering whatever questions you have. For anybody that's watching the recording, if you get to the end and have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm going to be sending you lots of resources. Okay. A little bit about me for those that don't know me. I played at the University of Iowa. I was a goalkeeper and coached collegiately for 8 years. Set at the D1 level, that would be Gardner-Webb, USC Upstate, Davidson College, and Duquesne. And I also coached an additional year in NAIA with Point Park University. I've also a club, ODP, I've been a technical director, so lots and lots of stuff through the process, and happy to be here at NCSA helping student athletes like you walk through the process. Okay, I haven't worked with one of our recruiting coaches. All of us have been involved in the college game, played collegiately. Most of us have coached collegiately as well for a long time, so you have an awesome staff of people here helping you. Today's topics, we are going to start with camps because it is camp season. We'll talk about why to go to camps, talk about how to decide on camps, college versus company, and in which to maximize your exposure. Going to tournaments. I know some of you are also still going to tournaments here for the next few months. So how to prepare for those events and how to follow up. And then we'll be hitting the point of how to support your athletes if you're one of the parents on the call or watching the video. Rolling. All right, so there's a lot of reasons why to go to camp. Okay, so 1, to get better. 2, to get noticed or evaluated by a college of interest, or to go to a camp that a coach has been a coach will be from a college of interest, to advance your recruiting. So maybe a conversation has already happened, coaches have started to evaluate you, but you want to get to know the coaching staff and experience the campus. Okay? It's important to keep that in mind, like where are you going to these camps, right? So if you're going for training, that's going to change maybe some of the camps you'll look at. So if you're going for training, make sure it's the correct level for you, right? So the level of competitiveness that it's going to be for something that's going to challenge you. That the coaching is high quality, so it's going to be led by the college coaches and not necessarily like their college staff or their college student athletes. Some of those athletes are going to want to be college coaches someday, so they may be involved in the coaching, but you don't want to go to a camp that's just led completely by other high school age kids. Make length and price and that it's fair relative to other camps that are going on. Don't pay $1,000 for a 2-day camp. If possible, talk to someone that's been there. Talk to somebody. Word of mouth is really valuable, especially people locally have probably been involved. So that's a helpful tool. Going for recruiting purposes, making sure that school is still recruiting for your age group. And that means making a phone call. So being on the phone before you book travel, especially if you're going to have to book a hotel or a flight. If they're not still in, only go to schools that are on your top list. Maybe the 3 schools that you're planning to apply to regardless of if you're going to play soccer. And that would be something that you could work on for like being walk on at a school or finding some additional opportunities. Okay. Camp levels for elite players, okay, and recruits. And you can ask that question to the coaches. Is this a camp where you're going to have your recruits attend? And research other staff. A lot of times these staffs, especially in the summer, we have a lot of camps. So I would work other people's camps as well. I would work camps all the region. I would bring people in to work my camps. So on an average week in one of my summer camps, I would probably have for other schools that were represented in the coaching staff. So it's definitely a good thing to reach out beforehand. So you guys are all getting camp invites. Like without a doubt, this is like camp invite season, and there are kind of 2 styles of camps that you can attend. So the first one is ones held by college, okay? And so there's a lot of reasons colleges would host ID camps, okay? The main one, to be honest with you, is to make money for their programs or themselves. A lot of us are on a 10-month contract, or maybe we need to supplement our income in the summer by working those camps. So it's a way for us to make money to keep for more years. The majority are going to be in that realm. it's fairly rare if I'm just hosting a camp to fill out numbers to get as many kids in that camp as possible so I make money. I'm probably going to find a lot of recruits there. Okay? So number caps are a good indicator. So if their cap is at anywhere over like 50 kids, it's probably a camp that's just really meant to generate money from people. Provide a service for the community. So a lot of times you want to give back to the community to grow your fan base, and these are going to generally be for younger kids. They'll probably be promoted from within your club or maybe in the local paper. So that promotion is going to be really less about getting recruiting in there and more about just building fan base and being involved in your community. For recruiting, so these are going to be those events that have like a lower count of student athletes because they have a better ratio so they can see as many kids play in detail as possible. It's often going to include a tour, a talk, if that's allowed at that level. It will send invites not just to, not just like a general public, but more specifically to their recruits. And they are required per NCAA rule to open that registration to everybody somewhere. It can be on their website. They may not promote it to anybody other than their recruits, but you have to be able to access it somewhere. Only 1 to 2 days. Okay, so very rare to find a like 3 or 4 day camp anymore in the recruiting process. They will invite their recruited players as well as their committed players. Okay, so it's a great way to work with your committed players and help to raise the level so you can kind of compare. This is an incoming freshman class. We need to find that next class behind them, and you want to try to keep that level high. So it's really helpful for everybody. They can't give recruits special discounts. That is illegal, and will put your eligibility in jeopardy. Okay. We've got companies. So a lot of we get this question a lot. Like, there's all these companies, and they bring in all these coaches, and one thing to keep in mind with companies is that their sole objective is to make money, right? Like, they're a company that exists to help you in the recruiting process, but it costs you money. Okay? So some of these include Exact, Shaw, Premier College Combine, Top Drawer, ID Sports USA, iDiscover. So lots of different companies out there. I'm not even naming probably half of them. So just because they're a company doesn't mean they're bad. Okay, so for example, with Exact a lot. I talked with the people there time about kind of what their process is. They love our NCSA kids. We have a discount for NCSA now. This hasn't been updated. I just want to take a look at my email follow-up. I believe if you're interested in registering, we do have a direct link that you can use in order to register for those camps. Okay, so that help you along the way to get enrolled in the right direction. Okay. So things to know about those camps. Okay, coaches are paid to be there. Okay, we're going to make money. I'm of the firm belief that if you're at a camp, you might as well look at kids, but not always are they fully committed to recruiting in those camps and environments. It is still worth attending, especially if you're looking at like D2, D3, and NA programs. Those are great events for them to attend to really gain more attention. Okay, so really less about connecting with D1 schools at those events because they have bigger budgets to travel and get to camps and events, and more about those like D2, D3, and NAI programs. Attended a camp, okay? A couple things I'd like to make up of, okay? It's a learning curve. That's partially why we want you to, attend these camps, especially starting locally. Okay? Get to your question, I'm going to answer them at the end. Okay, I recommend trying to get to multiple levels as you get started, especially if you're in your freshman or sophomore year. Okay, locally they're going to see you lots of times. So, like I grew up in Milwaukee, so I went to like UW Milwaukee's camp and Marquette's camp and UW Parkside. So like all of the like kind of local schools because they were going to come see my club team playing a like regular season game, or maybe they can make it to a high school game if they were super ambitious. Okay, so that really isn't going to affect your process, and it's going to give you some room to grow. Okay, be prepared to do drills, but also play a lot. Okay, a lot of them are trying to get you into 11-a-side to see you making decisions and things like that. Great. Okay, spend the 2 days prior making sure that you're bottles of water, eating the right things, so that when you get to the event, you feel your very, very best. Okay. Focus on your strengths. Okay, if you've never been able to hit a left-footed ball 60 yards on a dime, don't try to do it that day, okay? Think about the things that make you great and what makes, what your teammates would say you're really good at, and focus on bringing those to the table in your training and also in the game settings. I'm talking all night, so sorry, my throat's a little dry. So when things to choose, right? We've talked about like companies or, what types of, camps that coaches are putting together, what your intention is. If you're going for recruiting, I want you to think, what are your biggest issues? Okay, so if your issue is exposure, okay, you don't get seen by a lot of coaches, maybe in a region you're looking to attend, go to school in, or you only have been seen locally because your team doesn't go to a lot of events. Be a good example of a time to go to maybe one of those company camps that bring lots of coaches that has lots of eyes on you. Okay, going to those though, communication is really important. So you have to be an effective communicator. You got to be reaching out ahead of time, introducing yourself, and making sure they know your name going into it. Okay. If connection or interest from specific schools is more of your issue, a single school camp, get to know them a little bit better. Okay? I'm sending some links after this that are going to be helpful, hopefully, guys. Put together 2 Google spreadsheets. I've gone through and there's been a couple of errors in them, so just double check some of the dates. If you find a school and you see like a bunch of the dates, maybe double checking. Also, because this time of year, some of those are already booked. So I checked in a couple recently where there's only goalkeeper slots left, or they've completely sold out already. So make sure you're just double checking and not assuming. Kind of go to their website and find out more. Okay. I also have a really great website that breaks things down by state, and it'll give you every school that has a soccer program for like men's and women's in state and when they have upcoming events. So that's going to be another helpful tool for you guys to take a look at. So let's talk about how to maximize your exposure. And I've hit on some of this a little bit with that communication component. So first thing, talk to the coach ahead of time. Ask questions, engage with them, okay? If you have a conversation with a coach, I'm going to remember you a lot more when time comes. So, how many people are attending, right? Now you know whether or not, if it's kind of 50 or less, hey, this is probably a recruiting event. If it's 50 or more, oh, this is probably just to fill their pocket, okay? How many recruits did you sign from the last camp? So you can get an idea of how in depth they go into recruiting there. And then what type of evaluation will you receive, okay? By prompting that, hopefully they'll be paying closer attention to you. You'll send the links after. Email the coach and let them know when you decide to attend, okay? So that gives them an opportunity to see your profile again. Always include your NCSA profile in there so they can see that and interact with it. When you get to camp, introduce yourself, especially if there's multiple coaches, right? So I've got 3 other coaches from schools around you. Walk up and introduce yourself, because I haven't been staring at the list of kids as much. So I'm really relying on kids to come up to me, introduce themselves, especially if they've emailed me prior. Now I can put a face and a name together. Okay. Ask the coach for feedback after the camp if they allow you. There are NCAA rules for freshmen and sophomores. They cannot give you direct feedback right now. So that's a little challenging until June 15th, and that for the sophomores, then your communication date's going to open up. So they'll be giving you more feedback. But for now, if you're younger than June 15th, going into your junior year, okay, don't expect feedback verbally at those events. Okay. Okay, genuinely knocked it off of my recruiting list because we went to the cafeteria and they were rude to the cafeteria staff and were like slugged and left things around. I've had kids that have stolen things from our locker room. That's a very quick way to not be recruited, and I would do that. Okay, do not leave the locker room in a state that you wouldn't leave. You wouldn't go to your grandmother's house and destroy her house, right? So don't do that now. We are evaluating you at all turns, especially if it's an overnight camp, okay? We are paying attention. Hard. Be a vocal. That's something that you are. Don't be afraid to talk. I think to communicate tend to do a lot better because they're going to catch your attention. Okay? And follow up afterwards. Giving them a thank you. Hey, thanks for the event. Here's what I learned. And that gives you an opportunity to ask for feedback if you haven't already gotten it. If you are before those timelines for D1 and D2, June 15th, for communication, feel free to include in your coach's information. That is a way in which some coaches will reach back out and give you feedback. All right, so camps. I will come back and answer questions as we go. We are going to get into tournaments now. And the way I kind of approach tournaments in here is I want to talk first about the coach timeline, because I'm very specific about the way I like kids to approach tournaments and their timeline, because it has to match with how coaches prepare. So as a coach, my years of watching kids and prepping events, these things take forever to get ready for, because you're not just getting like your email. You're getting your email and the other 17 kids on your roster, and then also the other 25 teams that are attending in your bracket, and then also the other 4 age groups that are there. So you've got hundreds of emails coming in for these events. As they start to come in, I create a folder, and I'm just going to drop those emails. It says, oh, Disney Showcase, I'm going to put them into the Disney Showcase folder. Okay. Sometimes I pre-screen, so if maybe I'm done with the class, I may not put that into my schedule, or if a kid is academically not eligible for my school, I'm not going to waste my time putting the information in my schedule. Well, finalize usually Wednesday prior to the event, so I would start working on this like a full solid week prior. I'd be sitting in my office, putting all the data, making sure that I could get to as many games as I possibly could and prioritize those for not just myself, but also the rest of the staff. Generally takes about 2 for us to follow up after. So if you don't hear back Monday, don't panic. We'll use some strategies to help entice that communication. That translates to you. So about 3 weeks out from an event, okay, I don't want you to cram for this at all. I want you to methodically work through it and break it up, because otherwise you're going to be sitting up till 3 in the morning, trying to look up schools and do all this extra work when you could have just spaced it out. Okay, so 3 weeks out, go to the list of coaches that are planning to attend. Use on the website, like a coach is attending on the name of the tournament. You can always Google the name of the tournament and the college coaches attending to pull up a list. Or if there's nothing, you can't find anything, look at school 2 to 3 hour radius of the event. Most likely schools to be attending, so that's a great way to look as well. Video, okay? Use your Find Colleges tabs, because you've opened up your match percentages. And match percentages are a great guide as to, are you tracking in the right direction? Okay, if you haven't gotten us video, get it to us as soon as possible. You can maybe even record at some of those events, those camps that you're planning to attend, or ask somebody to help record at your tournaments. Okay. Think about things that are going to be limiting. So if you don't want to go to a school that has religious affiliation, you can see that information in NCSA. So that's a great tool. If you're looking for a school that's less than 3,000 kids, put that in, find out. Okay. All you have to do is go to Find Colleges, type in the school name, search. If you can't find it, please know you cannot abbreviate in our system. So you can't write USC and expect University of Southern California to come up. Okay. When in doubt, simplify, right? So, if you're St. Mary's, maybe type in Mount, okay, or Mary, and it's going to pull up all the schools with Mary in its name, and that'll help. The goal is always to try to hit like 20, 25 schools, especially early in the process. Cast a wide net and hit multiple levels, okay? If you want to reach out to 10 additional maybe stretch schools, so schools that are less than a 70% match, especially if they're an athletic stretch, that is okay, but your whole list should not be made up of kids that are, or schools that are stretch schools for you athletically. You've got a list, okay? You've compiled your list of schools you want to contact. Okay, step is to contact, okay? I don't want you to contact more than 2 weeks out, because a lot of times those emails would get lost, but you also don't want to be contacting the day before, because, coaches need prepping for this weeks in advance. So you might as well get your stuff in there in time. I encourage you to not send an email any later than the weekend prior. I know I have Wednesday in here, but that is your last resort day, because what I would do is, as soon as I ended my day on Wednesday, which during the term, that might be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because I go to get to a club training session. Okay, so when I closed my laptop that day, I was done. I wasn't doing anything else, because I was probably traveling on Thursday. In the subject line, make sure you're including the name of the event, either so that we make sure that we can catch it, and also a lot of us will then go through afterwards and search for keywords that we would need in order to find any emails that maybe slipped through. Each email specific. I can't emphasize this enough. Do send me your coach, I'm interested in your school, because it has nice soccer. Like, don't send me a generic email, okay? Give me information that shows that you've done your research, you understand what my school's about, you know my name, okay, and where I coach, okay? All of those things are very important to show that you've taken time to do this. Very intimidating slide. It's not, okay? So this is actually the same email side by side. And the point I'm actually looking to illustrate here is that visuals are important, okay? So on the left-hand side, you've got my ideal email format. On the right-hand side, you've got my nightmare email format as a coach, okay? So a couple of key things that I want you to be looking at, okay? So bold info that's important. Your club team, your jersey number, your grad year, schedule, location. Make sure you put both the date and the time of the game, okay? And if you have a field location, but it's an event that has multiple fields, meaning like multiple venues, make sure you put the venue name on there as well. Okay? Write the whole schedule out, okay? Many of you will get a Got Soccer link, and a Got Soccer link is great, but put it into an email, because if everybody sends me a Got Soccer link, it's very easy for me to make mistakes. And this happened all the time, where I'd open something up and I'd end up in the wrong tab, and then I'd put the wrong information in there about the games and times because I happened to be in the wrong thing and I didn't recognize it. Okay, so put information in there so they can just copy and paste it into the information or into their database. Are below June 15th, going into your junior year or younger than that, always include coach contact. So club coach that's in contact to help circumvent that NCAA rule and to maybe give you some feedback. And talk about the schools. Do the research. Make sure you're an academic candidate. Okay? Do not email Yale if you're a 2.0 student. Okay? Create a template. Okay, I will go over this in a second, but if you're not using our message center, start using our message center. It is a really helpful tool to keep things organized and make things really easy. I used to have to go search what's all over the place. I actually used to have to like print things to send in the mail. I know, crazy. But use the template center to help save you time. Right. If not attending tournaments, okay, I get this question a lot as well. My team would go to tournaments, or maybe I want to be in the Southeast and our tour goes there, okay? Look for guest playing opportunities, okay? A lot of major tournaments have opportunities for you to get into a guest player role. So I would search for major events in that region and register as a guest player. That doesn't mean you're going to automatically get picked up, but if you are, those coaches will contact you and you'll get all the information, and then you can start contacting coaches. Make sure that you're doing that in areas where you want to attend, especially if you're looking out of region, okay? It's a great way to get those eyes on you in a very specific way. There's a lot more bang for my buck going to a tournament than coming to see you play individually in a different region. Template, okay? So if you go into your message center, which is the envelope in the upper right-hand corner of your profile, you will find an option that says create message. This is where you're going to go to create all of your emails. One thing to keep in mind is that your specific profile link is always linked in the bottom of this email, okay? So helpful. You have to go looking for it. You don't have to do anything other than open up that email to have it there. So if you're looking to find out what your profile link is, that's the place to go. You start to create that email. You'll build it out, and then at the bottom right-hand corner, there's something that says Save Template. It's got a little floppy disk next to it. None of you probably know what a floppy disk is, but that is the icon there. And so you'll click on that. You'll name this, and then you'll name it with like the tournament name, and then you can just keep going back in and accessing that template, and then making the small changes to each about, what the school name is, the coach's name, making sure that you're emailing each of those coaches. One other detail I would say is there's going to be multiple coaches on a staff. If they haven't indicated which coach is going to be attending that event in like the list of coaches, I would strongly recommend emailing every coach, but individually. Okay? I worked on a staff with one other person, and sometimes people would email both of us, and both of us would assume the other person took care of it. So make sure you're emailing them all individually. Okay? Right. Now, especially for those of you that are older in the process, past June 15th. I'm going to use that as the date because calls are illegal for Division I schools prior to June 15th going into your junior year. All other levels, I encourage you, get on the phone with coaches, introduce yourself, invite them out to your games. Even though you already sent them an email, add extra weight if you can get on the phone and call. I recognize this is something that will make you incredibly nervous, a lot of you, okay? That's okay. We've got really lots of resources for you. We've got a drill that'll go over talking on the phone with coaches in NCSA University. We another recruiting class that you can go through. I believe it's Coach Communication 301 that will go over how to get on the phone with coaches. And when in doubt, write a script, okay? Write your script out, exactly what you want to say, so when you get nervous, even just a little nervous, you just read it, okay? You've got everything laid out there. If you do have access to coaching sessions, this is one I definitely recommend, okay? So it'll help you to build your confidence talking to adults on the phone about soccer. It's also going to help you build that script and maybe even practice it. If you are a membership that doesn't have like a coaching session with one of us, or you're wanting another so you can talk about that, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk through how to add that information in. It's definitely a valuable session. Following up from events is very, very important. So remember I said, hey, we've got hundreds of emails coming in prior to an event, okay? We also, that's a lot to get lost in. I'm not going to just go find your email again. So the best thing you can do is send a weekend recap. Let them know some, stats, how the weekend went, how the team did, okay? Thank them for attending the event, okay? And ask for feedback, do you see me being a fit in your 2021 class? What do I need to do to be considered for this class? And again, including that club coach's information as a reference. Okay? They ask why. Like, why am I going to do this other thing? Okay? The vast majority of players who email prior do not follow up afterwards. That's basically like putting your future in somebody else's hands. I'm into that. I think that that's something that you can take control over and own that'll help moving forward in the process. It's going to encourage those coaches to go back in and look at their notes. Did I see this kid play? Do I see them being a fit? Okay, we see a lot of kids play, so sometimes we forget about notes that we've taken. Put your name back on their radar. It emphasizes your true interest in the program. And it's you to find next steps. So maybe they say, hey, yeah, we did see you play. We didn't have enough. We'd love to get you to camp so we can see you play against our other recruits. Okay. And keep in mind, I call this bookending. So mimic the actions on both ends. So if you emailed prior, email after. If you call prior, call after. Okay. And let them know if you get on the phone with them, let them know you'll plan to follow up afterwards with them. Segment in here is going to be about help as a parent. Okay. There's lots that you guys can do to help support this process. One of the biggest things that I see is that parents will come in here and they'll do all the emailing, and you are doing your student athletes a disservice by doing that. Okay, I think it's really important for you to understand like this is such an important learning experience beyond just getting you to college. This is the type of thing that helps kids transition into the college world, be in charge of their own email, like they'll have to be when they go off to college. And also like just teaches them really skills. You can help them with it. You can read their drafts, but truly, I was very clear when a parent was emailing me versus a student athlete. So, help them sit side by side with them, but don't do the work for them. Okay? If you are on the sideline, if you're going to the event, it's really helpful to have a team profile. If you're looking for an example, you can email me after. I do have one. I don't want to just throw it out there for everybody because it's got this information on it. So I just want to use it as an example if you need it. But that would include name, GPA, picture, number, position, grad year, majors, SAT and ACT scores, contact, right, email for those kids. So that's really helpful. We get these big binders full of information about kids, so it's really helpful to have a picture that we can use and something that's really specific to your team. If you are doing that, keep track of who's at the games. Okay, I'm not going to probably catch everybody. We are more than often the person wearing a backpack walking around with a binder, so that tends to be what you're looking for. Often we're wearing our gear, so if you see somebody walking around with a Davidson hat, a Davidson sweatshirt, and a backpack with a binder in their hands, that's a coach. Okay, so what else? You can walk up and say, hey, are you a college coach? And hand them the profile if possible. But helpful for the follow-up if you've taken notes on, okay, in the first game, these 12 coaches were there. In the second game, these 5 coaches were there. That gives more specific details for kids to follow up with. You to register on a website, do it. Okay, that's how you end up in the binder that we get. A lot of times it's like Captain U. We've had that. Get the free profile. Generally, a lot of coaches are specifically using Captain U to like move you super far forward in the process, other than like emailing about camps. But just get the free one. That's an option, but it's going to get you into that coach packet. Do not with coaches on the sidelines. You go there for one game, maybe 2. We are for about 10. So from the first whistle to the last whistle, a lot of us. So it's a long day. Sometimes you're trying to get to 4 different fields in a time slot. So, do the like kind of let them do their job and watch the kids. Don't try to sneak over their shoulder and look at their notes or anything like that. That's mainly infuriating to have somebody stand over the top of you and look over your shoulder, and you're not probably going to understand what I'm writing down anyway. Just a lot of us use like a rating system or have like special notations overall. If they ask you questions, obviously you can engage with them. I've had many a conversation on the sideline about things, talking about weather and things like that, and that's fine if they engage you first. And then be a supportive parent. Be supportive in the process, but also be supportive on the sidelines. I have genuinely been heard somebody screaming on the sidelines, figured out who their kid was, and just X'd them out, because I'm not going to bring that into my team. So I think it's a helpful reminder that the career is not staked on one game. I don't hear you trash talking the coach, the ref, other children that are playing on the field. Those are things that really were not helping your student athlete if that's what's happening on the sideline. Be supportive, cheer them on, find them to enjoy the game. It's a stressful environment to play in, so a supportive parent on the sideline is really important. If you need help, if you come out of this session and you're like, man, this is a lot. Okay, a couple things I want to remind you of. We've got a member services team. Okay, they're available 7 days a week to help you with writing emails and drafts and helping to pick a list of schools or practice calling coaches. You do have access to additional coaching sessions, so those one-on-one conversations, if you don't have an unlimited amount through your membership. So if that's something you're like, man, this is something I need more on, reach out. We'll get you set up. I'm into the Coach Communication series for recruiting classes, which you can find under NCSA University and in the Recruiting Classes tab. 101, 201, 301, all of them are fantastic. So get in there, and I think it'll answer a lot of your emailing and calling questions. These are all of our contact information. Right now, I'm actually going to drop a link to a survey about your experience with NCSA. We always are looking for feedback on your experience, and so if you guys can take a second, I will email this link as well. But if you take a second and fill it out right now, it'll be in the chat box. I would greatly appreciate it, because it's a really helpful tool for us to learn more and continue to get feedback on the process. Okay. Again, I will email that after for those of you that are maybe listening on the phone. Okay. I'm going to open it up to questions. I did have some in here, but for those of you that waited to the end, I will definitely be following up with a recording. I know some of you jumped in partially through this, so if you missed it, don't panic. I will send that recording across. It'll probably be tomorrow morning, because it's been taking a while to load it lately. But yeah, so thank you guys for showing up, and if there's any questions. Okay, so starting on the ones I already had. How many camps do you recommend a year? It will depend on your grad year, to be honest with you. So I do recommend, as you get started in 8th grade, freshman year, that you're doing multiple levels, okay, because you want to see what that looks like. General kids 2 to 3 throughout the summer, if you can get there. Some kids will go over the top, but you could pay thousands and thousands of dollars getting to all sorts of ID camps. So be smart. I think stay within the financial restraints or parameters that your parents set or that you guys set as a family. If you that wanted to see the camp links, I will send them after in the follow-up email. Okay. If you are interested in registering for NCSA for exact camps, you can reach out to me, and I'll make sure to send that registration link across to you. school contacts you on your personal email, do you have to use the message center to email them back? You don't have to. I recommend it because what it does is it allows you to see whether or not they've opened the email. So if you send a response and they don't open it, then you can always follow up from your personal, but your personal generally is not going to give you that information of if they've opened it, okay? So I would highly recommend responding in the message center and kind of transitioning that communication over so that you can also have a running note of all the times that you've communicated, and we can keep track of that. For a parent to give a personal profile to college coaches on the sideline, or should it be the manager? If you're talking about the team profile, would be great. Profiles, unless you're a guest player, I don't necessarily recommend. You can, but I would maybe only target schools that you know for sure that the player is interested in at that point. One, go through a million of those, but yeah, I would just strongly encourage you to really let them. It can be a parent that's handing out the team profile for sure. A lot of teams will rotate who's in charge of that, so that like one person is the one that has to worry about not watching all of the game, so that they can care the information. But yeah, I would definitely, up to you guys on how you want to go through it. But I've had plenty of parents volunteer to be that person. NCSA for messaging. Yeah, every school that has soccer is listed in NCSA, and they will have all that coach's information unless it's a new coach. If you see something that's wrong, let us know so that we update it. Good question. Now, coaches, if you're not a sophomore on summer vacation, okay, younger than that, I really do encourage you to be updating coaches sporadically in the process, depending on, what kind of trip you had. So if you've been to camp, you can maybe keep them a little bit more frequent. I would really encourage you to walk the My Progress path for each school and kind of give you some updates on when you should be contacting again with schools of interest. So that would be my biggest recommendation, just to make sure you're staying on track. And you can talk about how your semester went. You can talk about new videos. You can talk about upcoming events that you have or how those events went. It's really the types of topics you would want to hit. Coach doesn't have a social media to follow. How do you go into the next step? Good question. If a coach doesn't have social media, search for the schools, like the soccer program. If they still don't, you can just check that off and say that you tried, basically, so that you move on to the next page, like the next step in the progress. Followed me and viewed my profile. However, hasn't opened either of the two emails. I'm in the junior year. How do I progress from here? Aaron, if they're not opening the emails, what I would do is I would try sending it then from a personal. It may be getting snagged in a filter or something like that, but they have given you some indicators that they are interested based on the fact that they've viewed your profile and they've also followed you. So that's what I would do. I would just try from a different email just in case it gets snagged in the spam filter. That's like once a month I would go in there and go, oh my gosh, there's so much spam in here. And I had missed just tons of emails, and well, then it was just because I get lots of emails. All right, so see, the questions are slowing down. You guys asked awesome questions. If you were not wanting to ask them in the group, that's still fine. I will send that follow-up email tomorrow. If you haven't already gotten the chance to fill out that survey, please do it so that we can get that feedback. And I really do appreciate all those that jumped on the call. I think it makes for a much better class. So I hope you guys have a great night. I'm going to end the recording now, and then after that, I'll close out the room. So just know that the video closes off. All right, thanks guys. Have a good night.